Okay, we're good to go. Today we are meeting on Lutruwita, Tasmania, Aboriginal land, and online many more join us from across the country on lands of Aboriginal cultures and communities. I acknowledge with deep respect the traditional owners of the land that our university resides on, the Palawa and Pakana people of Lutruwita, Tasmania, the Wongal and Gadigal people of the Ora Nation in Rozelle, the Wurundjeri Wurrung and Bunwurrung people of the Kulin Nation in Melbourne, upon whose lands many of our community reside and visit, and whose land is recognised as First Nations land and valued by our community. In Lutruwita, the Muwinina people belong to the oldest continuing culture in the world. They cared and protected for country for thousands of years. They knew this land, they lived on the land, and they died on these lands. I honour them. For the Muwinina people, the area around Nipaluna Hobart was their country, and they called Mount Wellington Kunyanyi. I pay my respects to elders past and present, and to the many Aboriginal people that did not make elder status, and to the Aboriginal communities that continue to care for country. I recognise a history of truth, which acknowledges the impacts of invasion and colonisation upon Aboriginal people, resulting in the forcible removal from their lands. Our island is deeply unique, with spectacular landscapes, with our cities and towns surrounded by bushland, wilderness, mountain ranges and beaches. I stand for a future that profoundly respects and acknowledges Aboriginal perspectives, culture, language and history, and a continued effort to fight for Aboriginal justice and rights, paving the way for a strong future. Welcome tonight to the TUSA Tasmanian University Student Association Elections Candidate Debate. Welcome to all of our guests here tonight, and particularly welcome to candidates tonight who will be putting their foot forward for democracy and answering some questions tonight in a civil and hopefully entertaining and also engaging and informative forum. I'd particularly like to acknowledge my friend Liam McLaren, the outgoing TUSA president up the back, and any other outgoing elected officials of TUSA here tonight. Acknowledge you and the fine work you've done over the last year and the last 2 years when it comes to Liam. Acknowledge your work and the contribution you've made to this democracy. That is the Tasmanian University Student Association. Again, I also welcome candidates here in the room with us and also those online who will be participating tonight. It was Carrie Chapman Catt, who was a leader particularly of the American women's suffrage movement in the 1920s, who said, "Everybody counts in applying democracy, and there will never be a true democracy until every responsible and law-abiding adult in it, without regard to race, sex, colour or creed, has his or her own inalienable and unpurchasable voice in government." A lofty aspiration, I'm certain, for us democratists here tonight. Or maybe we can take a slightly lower version of that and say, with Albert Moravia, who's an Italian novelist, said, "Dictatorships are one-way streets. At the very least, democracy boasts two-way traffic." And that's what we're here to do tonight, a bit of two-way traffic, some conversation with our candidates. We're going to have each state council position nominee go one position at a time: undergrad, postgrad, cradle, north, south, equity, GenSec and president. Each student will have 30 seconds to introduce themselves, state if they have any ticket affiliations, what position they're running for, and why they want to get involved with TUSA. I've got to say, I think 30 seconds is a pretty harsh. I'm not sure I've ever spoken for 30 seconds or less in my entire political career. My name is David Bartlett. I am the former chair of the Board of Management of TUSA for a couple of years ago. But those of you who are new to Tasmania or younger than 50 years old, you may also recall, or may not recall in that case, that I was Premier of Tasmania for some 3 years and Minister for Education and Skills for some 6 years in this great state we live in. We will ask that answers, of course, from candidates are kept short and concise, and it will be the MC's discretion, that's mine, should have bought a big bell or a, I don't know, whip or something, to ask each nominee to finish their answer, or I may or may not cut them off as we go. Housekeeping, if for any reason we need to evacuate, we'll head for the University Oval. There'll be a short break at about 7 p.m, 5 minutes to, 5 minutes after or thereabouts, where we'll be serving some pizza here for those in Hobart, and some soft drink for attendees. We'll be doing that out in the foyer. The session will be recorded via Zoom, and there are other centres, of course, online watching us on Zoom tonight and participating as well. So my very best and good luck to all candidates tonight. We're going to start with undergraduate presidents, and I believe there are 3 candidates attending. Waiting for the slide to change so I can read their names. I welcome Imran Khan, Siska Bullens, and Vanessa Yap, and I think they're all in the audience here today. So please join me on stage. Each candidate has 30 seconds to, we've got a microphone to pass between you, and each candidate has 30 seconds to introduce themselves and answer those questions that I mentioned before. We will start with Vanessa.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Hi, my name is Vanessa. I'm a second-year medical student.
Make sure that that's actually on. Yep, that is on.
I'll start again. Hi, I'm Vanessa. I'm a second-year medical student currently running for the education president for undergraduate. Some highlights I did this year: I'm currently the women's officer of TUSA. I'm also the founder and president for TUSA, very passionate about mental health, and I'm very proud to be an international student ambassador promoting Tasmania as a top study destination. Yes. Why am I doing this role? It's because I believe in the power of student representation. I will be representing the undergraduate student body, and I believe their concerns should be heard and should be addressed at every key level decision making and the university should prioritize that.
Thank you. Siska, look.
Hi everyone. So I just go by Siska as well.
Thank you.
So I'm also running for the role of undergraduate education president, and I'm running with some awesome people on the Your Uni, Your TUSA ticket. So in the past year or so, a bit less, I've been working as the Culture, Science and Engineering TUSA Experience Leader, or COSITEL for short. So through that role, I've been very involved with improving our academic experience here at UTAS. And I am very, very, very keen to keep that going and take that further. And I'll also run for the president role and take everything that I've learned over the past year to represent all students further.
Thank you. We'll do the applause right at the end. How about that?
All right, a very good evening to everybody. My name is Imran. All of you look so tired today. So horrible. I'm proudly representing the Alliance for Fair Representation ticket, the AFR. And I will be running for the undergraduate education president. I feel that university life can be an obstacle at times, and I want to make sure that every student's educational needs are not just met, but exceeded, so that you can focus on stuff that's more important, like having fun and going for parties. Thank you.
Thank you. Big round of applause for our 3 some standard questions that we're going to go with. I'm keeping a really close watch on time because we've got a lot to get through tonight, and the Jack Jumpers tip off in the season at 8:30. So some of us, because education is important, but basketball is important. Some of us have to get home. So we'll make sure, though, we give our candidates all the time we can. And if we've got time at the end of each session, I'll throw to the audience if there's any questions to go. So to our 3 candidates, first of all. On-campus learning versus online learning continues to be a large point of contention for many students. As an undergraduate president, what would you push for in your position?
I will strongly push for on-campus learning. When we go on campus to learn, it's not just about the lectures. We make friends, we find a community, we build relationships, we access student services. And while I understand online offer that kind of flexibility, we are just disconnected since the COVID period. It's so hard for us to go back on campus now. People are having difficulty having all this kind of access. Not only that, I'm a medical student. Practical skills are extremely important, and I can confidently say that for those who are in the healthcare professionals and other allied health who requires their practical skills, we need to go on campus to be competent professionals. So I do push for that, but I would like to also maintain a hybrid option for those who really need that online flexibility.
Thank you, Vanessa. Siska.
Yeah, so I don't think it needs to be an either or. I believe in a very qualitative hybrid model. So I think the quality of education should be the priority regardless of location. And especially it is worth noting that about 55% of the UTAS students are online students. So it's really important to make sure that they are receiving the same equal quality education as the online students or on-campus students. But again, there are a lot of, like you say as well, the on-campus students who are not actually having that social experience and that on-campus experience. So I do believe it is also really important to take that back into a classroom and move back on campus while making sure that the online students definitely are receiving the quality of education that they deserve. And yeah, I do believe that we can really look into the hybrid models as well, especially with lots of students working a lot of hours in the week, so that they have the option to now and then attend in person and also take some lectures online, as that will suit the busy schedules of the average student.
Thank you.
As Sir David has very correctly pointed out at the start of his presentation, democracy
Imran,
is a
we'll get you to hold the microphone up, only because I think it's the online.
Oh, right, sorry.
Thank you.
So as he's correctly pointed out, democracy is a two-way street. I believe that learning is no different. You should be able to choose between online learning and physical learning. But as Vanessa has also correctly pointed out, it is very important to make friends. So I would advocate for a hybrid learning approach, but to ensure that the first 2 weeks of lessons are conducted physically so that you can make friends first, and then you can go online and continue maintaining those friendships. And I would also like to advocate for the hybrid learning approach with regard to older students, as it would allow them to balance work and their personal lives, as well as learning, so that learning doesn't become a hassle for them. Thank you.
Excellent. So I think it's supplementary on that one before we move on to the next question. I'm interested in your views of the way the University of Tasmania is delivering online. I might go to you, Siska, first, in that you talk about, as long as it's quality, we're delivering quality online education. Are we seeing that from the University of Tasmania right now?
Yes, so a lot of classes have kept their lectures online after COVID. And there's been a lot of recycling of old lectures from the previous years. So some of the content has become outdated. And it's really important that we keep everything up to date. And obviously lots of the online components with just pre-recorded lectures miss that interactive component, which you can get in an in-person on-campus lecture or in a Zoom lecture online. That's already a very good alternative as well to allow for questions and interaction with students. So yeah, I think there's a lot of room for improvement, and especially, for example, the zooming in to classrooms from in person, which is happening in some areas as well, it's not working very well. So we need to definitely pay some more attention to that.
Imran, Vanessa, do you have a similar view? The quality needs to improve in the online product?
I can add a bit to that.
Yeah.
I agree with Siska. Also, online learning cater to those who have health issues, living in rural and regional, just couldn't make it on campus. It's tough. I would like to highlight that I think recently I read this news about the business school getting folded recently. And I have a friend who mentioned, I go to school like once a week and the rest is just online modules. And I'm thinking to myself, how are you going to be a successful businessman if you're going to be stuck at home, not networking? And I just find that a bit surprising. So I do like to push for a hybrid approach, but just be aware in which discipline is going to perform.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Imran, we're going to go to you for the next question, to start with you. We've recently seen paid placements be announced in federal parliament for nursing, midwifery, education and social work. Do you see this as a good thing, and does it go far enough?
As a law student, I'm very thrilled to see that my STEM friends have finally gotten the recognition and legal protection that they deserve. But I do note that medicine is not included in this list. I do not think that we should stop here. There are more courses that need paid placements, not just medicine. And it is very important that more students in more fields are being recognized for their work, and this is done by being paid for the work that you're doing. I don't think students are spared in the ever-increasing cost of living, and being paid to learn and to work is an excellent way of moving forward.
Come back this way.
Yes, so I agree. It's a really, really good first step, but we're still very, very far from where it would need to be. As you mentioned, there are a lot of disciplines which are missing out on these paid placements and are therefore also not being helped with their placement poverty. So medical students are a really good example of this. We also have a lot of hours that are mandatory as a placement to work, and they definitely deserve to get some help with that as well. Although it is also really important to note that the current payment is only about just over $300 a week, which is about $8 an hour. So very far under the minimum wage. So it would be, so apart from just expanding it to other disciplines, I also think it's extremely important to push for a higher pay that more meets the expectations and can actually make up for the current cost of living.
Vanessa.
Thank you. I would like to say thank you, Imran and Siska, for mentioning medical students are not being paid for placements. But I also like to share that love for the pharmacy people, the allied health, the psychology. We are all on the same boat, and we would love to have our placements getting paid also. I'm with you. I was so excited when I found out $7 is another disappointment. And we need to do this placement because it's mandatory to our degree. I find this an equity issue, because why would I need to sacrifice like my job when I need to do these placements and I cannot pay my living expenses, rent and everything else? It's just not fair when I need to do this for professional growth and competency. So yeah, I would like to push for a much more better pay that meets the minimum wage.
Fantastic. Thank you. Sis, we'll start with you on the final question for this group of our undergraduate presidents, candidates. In recent years, TUSA has advocated and fought strongly for the implementation of TUSA's Students as Partners model through student representation on all levels of college committees and getting student voices at the decision-making table. Do you think this is the right approach? If not, what would you recommend as a way of ensuring student representation within the colleges?
I think the Students as Partners model is a very, offers a good framework that we can build on, and I think it's important that we keep building on it to make sure that all students are fairly represented and to make sure that all voices are heard. So yeah, I think it's really important that we look into the actual role of students in all the different settings across the university, and that we don't lose, I guess, that sense of what our role is in that and what it can be, and to keep pushing for that co-creator design where applicable and where appropriate, rather than just being the sounding board and doing that representation properly and fairly so that all students are taken into account is very important.
Right. We'll go to Imran next.
Thank you. I agree with Siska on this. I'm also all for this approach. I think that I would liken this to a young adult finally getting to sit at the adults table and finally getting to communicate with all the adults and the old people. And it allows people like students and the university leadership committee to work together very effectively. And that way student voices aren't just background noise and is actively being considered. And we must always remember that when a university functions, it is the students that have to benefit from it because we are coming here to get an education. And it affects our students' lives and it's very important and it shouldn't just be a suggestion box somewhere in the building. We should be able to have a say in everything that goes on in the university.
I'm also on the same boat with Siska and Imran. I like to push this a little bit further, fully for this students as partners framework. But right now, what we are doing is only listening, providing feedback so that the university can act upon it. I would love if us as student representative could actually be integrated into the decision-making process so that we are actually involved in the steps taken that be in the best interest for us. I am a strong believer that students knows what's best for students, and I do not want this to be a reason where the university just use this as a checkbox exercise. Yeah. So I would love to see much more what we can do with this framework.
Well, on that note, a quick yes/no answer from each of you. Do you believe that it should be the automatic right of the student president to have a seat at the university council table? Yes or no?
Yes.
Definitely yes as well.
No.
Oh, and I'm trying to engender some controversy. They seem to have agreed with each other on a lot of things here. So, well, let's go back a couple of minutes here. Why?
Well, I don't think it should be automatic. I think that the student president has to prove himself that he has the capacity to hold his weight at the table and that he knows what goes on in the university. It shouldn't just be the case of or just because he's the president and therefore he deserves a seat at the table. He needs to prove that he is 100% with his organization, in this case the student union, and that he definitely believes in all of its ideals. Because if he doesn't, and if there's a case where he doesn't fully understand what's going on, then I think that it's going to be more detrimental than beneficial that he has a seat at the table.
Good. I want to hear why from Sister and Vanessa as well. Why? Yes.
Yes, so as you say, I think it is really important that we make sure that the president would have the capacities that are expected. But I do believe that by being in an elected position, we have already checked their ability to do so, and they are chosen by the students. So therefore, I would hope that they have a really good understanding and have had all those conversations with students to make sure that they have all the knowledge they need to then go and properly represent us all. And by being in that elected position, I think that is the main reason that that makes that they have already proven themselves and therefore deserve that seat at the table.
Yes.
Completely agree with Siska, on that point. I think that we can address your concern, Imra, by just having a student satisfaction survey. Just a lot of the times, it feels like the president is not representing us is because of a communication gap. That the message is lost in translation. So that with the survey, we know whether we are actually meeting their concerns and their needs. And I do not think the president has any intention of making us feel very ignored.
Right. Well, to our undergraduate presidents, I thank you very much for kicking our debate night off in absolutely fantastic style with very impressive answers, if not enough controversy, but very impressive answers. And please put your hands together to thank Imran and Siska and Vanessa. Right. We move on to our postgraduate presidents. I understand there are 3 candidates attending, although I've got 4 on the wall. One via
online and
okay, so can I welcome those candidates who are here? Anya, Yep, I'm sorry if I've got that wrong. I do have some Dutch heritage, so that might it might get me almost there. But welcome, Nimesh and Sam. Who have we got in the room?
So do I need a chair? Do I stand up? What do you guys think? Should I do it? Because otherwise I was going to sit down.
Do it.
Oh, all right. Okay.
Short answers. Short answers.
Short answer. I mean,
Short
I'm-
answer.
So have we got some online as well for this one, or are we?
It's not my spot.
Oh, I see. It doesn't. You don't have to sit in front of your own spot.
Ah,
You can sit up.
I can sit. Okay, all right.
Nimesh is going to be online.
So I've got that there in case you need it.
Fabulous, thank you very much. Excellent. I've roughly got you in order.
There's even more of you, Sam.
It's down at the bottom, so it'd be behind them.
Exactly.
That's the issue. It'd be behind.
Nimesh, welcome Nimesh, you can hear us okay?
Okay.
Give us a thumbs up, beautiful. Okay, so we have three candidates participating, and I'm going to ask you to introduce yourselves, 30 seconds each.
Thank you so much. My name is Jeppe.
Hold the microphone up so
Yes.
those online can hear you.
Thank you so much. My name is Jeppe. I'm from the Netherlands. I studied abroad in Wales and in Sweden, and now I'm here since last autumn in beautiful Tasmania. And I'm really excited to nominate myself as postgraduate president because I've seen some universities, and this is really a place I want to represent student voices. I'm very keen in advocating for the student voices, have many ideas, and I think TUSA is the perfect opportunity to do so. Yeah.
Perfect, well,
Hi everyone, I'm Sam and I'm old. In fact, I'm old enough that I remember what university was like once upon a time, and having been both through bachelor's and of course now into a postgrad capacity, I'm growing increasingly weary of how postgrad students are treated, and I would like to change that. And if you wanted to change it as well, then you can join the resistance too. So vote 1 for resistance.
it's lovely that the resistance is still on campus after all these years. Great to see. Nimesh, can we hear from you?
Absolutely. So thank you for the opportunity to introduce myself. I'm Namesh, and I'm currently reading for my master's in business administration. And I'm running for the position of postgraduate education president as a ticket along with my team, Your Uni, Your TUSA. And we as a team are passionate about overall student well-being, work-life balance. So if you believe that we can effectively represent the interest of all students, and if you believe I represent the interest of postgraduate students, please vote for me and my team, Your Uni, Your TUSA.
Good. Give them all a round of applause. Welcome, these three gentlemen, as we get into questions. We'll start with Sam. As a postgrad, given that you've got the microphone already.
I'm a talking stick.
As a postgraduate student, what do you see as the single biggest issue facing postgrad students, and how would you see them being addressed?
They're broke. A lot of the time they're broken, overworked, they're extremely stressed. There is no insignificant amount of coercive control that tends to occur at that level, where of course people might feel that their research or even their ability to engage is potentially at risk if they speak about unfair practices or behaviour that may occur. And of course, it's not all bad. There are lots of wonderful things too, but you very rarely get elected on wonderful things, right? It's always about the negative campaign. And subsequently, I feel that a lot of postgrad voices are generally quiet. They keep to themselves, they keep hush because they don't want to rock the boat, because that potentially causes a lot of issues. So a very big part of that in my efforts would be subsequently emancipating those postgrad voices to actually be able to have a say, even if anonymously, to get some movement there. And of course, naturally, building on this idea of cost of living, especially that we mentioned with placements earlier, actually allowing postgrads to buy food, basic things like that in order to keep their brains ticking over. So those would probably be my main focuses.
Great, thank you, Sam. Yep.
Thank you. Yeah, so when it comes to my ideas, what should be improved? Sorry. So it's really the overall well-being of the students I'm very keen in advocating for. So students have a lot of pressure, and I'm talking about we have this hybrid, which is quite interesting. That's a new thing, but it is a lot of pressure. People need to switch between being online and being in the classroom. People potentially still need to adjust from COVID. And I argue there should be more individual support, that the students really feel supported, that they really feel like, okay, my situation is understood. I am not just someone, I'm not just one of the students post-COVID, but I really have a plan, and a plan that's already there. There's already a framework from the university to cope with students that potentially need to get more support, basically for any student. And then when there is supervision, you can adjust this for students. So right now, this is like magic, like, well, let's give someone a bit of support. But if you have an actual strategy, and this is actually student-based, that would be really great. Like you can have a strategy of, let's say, 3 years, and that can be student-led. So students can have their voice in setting up the strategy. And then after 3 years, you can adjust it again by monitoring it, and you can adjust it again based on the students. And then it's also more like a dynamic thing. It's not like, well, let's acknowledge it, but it's really like an active thing. And every 3 years, it's taken serious again. So people can't go around the students anymore and their overall well-being. Yeah.
Thank you. Excellent. Yeah, okay. We'll go to Naresh on the screen.
So my take is that I don't believe students have been facing only one single issue. They have multiple issues which they are not having the platform to voice out for. So one of the significant challenges, multiple challenges they face, such as mental or physical well-being, they have struggling with their work-life balance, and also they are seeking for financial security. So like with the pressures of their education and their personal life can be overwhelming, I think I would be willing to advocate for increased access for their mental and well-being health support services, promote for more counseling workshops and peer support groups. And as a ticket, we will advocate for connected student community, and also push the uni for adequate funding for the students, particularly for the postgraduate students who are involved in research.
Right, thank you, Naresh. And you, round of applause. First round, we've got the nerves out now. We'll delve into, we'll start with Yep here. As a postgraduate president, oftentimes it's seen that masters and honours students are left out of the conversation, I presume for PhDs. How would you go about ensuring that this doesn't happen within your time as postgraduate president?
Yes, thank you for the question. So I would suggest an open panel discussion that our student represents of both masters, honors, and PhD. They come together and they just discuss together. So basically have a meeting. And again, this is very much related to having things just rolled out like a strategy. So people actually know, what are we talking about? What are we going to discuss? We are going to discuss this topic, and we are making sure that everyone has a voice. And when it is like in this way, then it is rather, instead of fixing things afterwards, you have things planned out. So you have planned out, we are going to make sure the honor students have a voice, the master students have a voice, the PhD students have a voice, and not afterwards being like, maybe the master students didn't have a voice. No, we make sure that if there's a meeting, there's a plan that everyone has a voice.
Thank you. Sam.
Sorry, can I get a repeat of the
You
question?
certainly can, sir.
I was so engrossed in the answer.
As a postgraduate president, oftentimes it's seen that masters and honours students are left out of the conversation. How would you go about ensuring this does not happen within your time as postgraduate president?
I mean, I think Yep basically summarised my thoughts in that respect as well. It's a bottom-up approach in order to actually bring people in rather than pushing people out, and rather than creating this sort of clandestine, PhD only access. Instead, you open it up, because education and learning is all about sharing knowledge, and subsequently, if you're only siloing people, that ends up in atomization, it ends up in isolation, it ends up in the psychosocial issues and hazards that we touched on as well, or have been mentioned here as well. And subsequently, it's about smashing those and making it so that it is a much more, what's the word I'm looking for? Permissive environment for people to sort of pollinate, cross-pollinate. And how that comes about, though, so any practicable steps for that, I think is really, again, on Jeff's point there, is going to be based pretty much on what these smart cookies have to say themselves. Otherwise, it's very much enforcing this top-down kind of like, you do it this way. And we have no idea whether that would actually work. So,
Thanks, Sam. We'll go to you, Nimesh.
Absolutely. So I understand the postgraduate students, basically the masters as well as the PhD students, do feel marginalized. So in order, I would promote for them to be participating more engagement with participation with the academic clubs, and I would collaborate with academic clubs and formulate more engagement for the masters and honors students, making sure that their priorities are also heard and felt and involved within the UTAS. And I would also propose an establishment of a dedicated support services, ensuring that these students' concerns, what are their problems, what do they expect, everything to be communicated, and that I would stand as a voice for that.
Great. Thank you, Nimesh. Round of applause for those answers. Thank you. Nimesh, we're going to go and start with you for the last question that we have for the group. UTAS continues to maintain our high degree by research stipends at the national base level. What are your opinions on this, and what will you advocate for in this space if you were elected?
I believe that UTAS's current approach to the high degree by research stipends is inadequate. If elected, I would advocate for regular reviews of these stipends to ensure that they're adjusted for inflation and the rising cost of living, and that these would also support for, I would also advocate to support for additional funding for research expenses and increased funding for career development programs, and also look into diversifying, focusing for the postgraduate students to transition into the workforce.
Great, thank you. I think it must be Sam next. You've got the mic, why not?
Mike, all right. I want to start with a little bit of a story. So I had a friend who was doing a PhD a number of years ago, and it was not uncommon in the course of her doing the PhD that she would frequently find herself in very tricky financial predicaments, and the stipend that she received was insufficient. It was unfit for purpose, and it wasn't uncommon for her to rely on the help of others, including, of course, TUSA, who are massively underfunded and need more, namely 100% SAF fees. Thank you very much. There we go. And subsequently, she relied very heavily on them in order to get through. So I think before we talk about other things like flexibility, the ability to perhaps slow down some research or sometimes the process, because it's a real crank to get that research going, which is important, but it can burn people out. And I think that is, again, another one of those hazards that can occur. But amongst everything, it would absolutely be to increase that stipend. Make sure that the people doing the research with the brain power actually get their fair share.
Last word here.
So, to make awareness of what's actually going on at the university is that the university is in a crisis in economic situation, so they are not doing well in that sense, and the Australian government is also planning to cut on international students' stipends. So it's not very likely it's going to get better. So the university has decided to save some money on the students. I think that is very wrong, because that's a form of exploitation, because the students are like competitive with other students when they are applying for the university. So especially when they are international students, they just want to get their ticket, and they are not going to say, I actually want a higher wage. So the university normalizes it to save money on the group of people that is more vulnerable. And I think that's really wrong. So they should save money on different ways. And they have done so recently in the building next door, in the social sciences building. They just changed the energy infrastructure, and they saved a lot of money with this, just by adding a bit of new technology in it. And they saved also lots of carbon emissions, that's a different story. But they save so much money. And I think that's not a form of putting people, the vulnerable people, even more at risk of exploitation. No, just look for alternatives, please.
Terrific. Please give these three gentlemen a round of applause. Thank you, Namesh, on the screen, much appreciated.
Thank you.
Okay, terrific. We have one candidate for the Cradle Coast president. Now, I'm not sure if they're with us or on screen. On screen? Terrific. Angus Bissett-Stewart is running for Cradle Coast Campus president, and we'll see him on the screen in a moment. We've still got Namesh there, so that's good.
Infinity and beyond.
Angus is with us. And can you hear me, Angus?
Yes, I can hear you. Hello.
Yes, we can hear your beautiful booming voice as well. You have
Thank you.
you have 30 seconds to introduce yourself and tell us why you're running for Cradle Coast president, if you're affiliated with anyone along the way as well.
Okay. Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name's Angus Bissett-Stewart. I'm originally from Sydney. I moved down to Burnie in the start of 2022 to study nursing. I'm currently in my third year of a never-ending nursing degree. Yeah, I'm affiliated with the your uni, your TUSA ticket. Yeah, vote for me because I came to uni. I expected there to be kind of a life on campus, and instead I was left with classes once every 3 weeks. So I do understand the struggles of the hybrid system, and I'm very passionate about helping students and engaging with students and making sure the services that TUSA and the university offer are tailored to students. Yeah.
Good on you, Angus. I've got a couple of questions for you. First up, Cradle is a unique and stunningly beautiful location there on the northwest coast where you are. And students there often feel they are overlooked by both TUSA and university services. How can TUSA improve their engagement with students on the Cradle Coast campus, recognising the student demography and courses offered there?
Yeah, cool. Thank you. Yeah, I'd like to acknowledge that there is a high number of students from low socioeconomic backgrounds, and Burnie's a really, it's a regional area, has poor public transport, low access to services, and reduced employment opportunities. I think it's important to, well, that being said, I think it's important to utilise their organisations and clubs in the community and partner with them. But the simple question is just engaging with students. Open Zoom forums. And talk to the students and not make assumptions about what they want and what they need. And advertising events properly. There are events offered statewide that some students are not able to get to because of our location. We should just hold more events in Burnie and advertise them properly.
Great, thanks, Angus. What do you see as the biggest single biggest issue facing Cradle Coast students, and how would you like to see it addressed?
Well, the single biggest issue, really, if I can put it into a nutshell, is a kind of lack of community and isolation. I think we're isolated from the other campuses here, geographically, but also with inclusions of events and university policy. So I think it's important, to make sure that students on the Cradle Coast, their voices are heard, that in-person classes are offered more frequently for those that need it. Nursing students, healthcare students, and teaching, lots of other occupations and professions need that in-person learning, that hands-on learning. So making sure that we get that quality of learning on campus, and making sure that, you know, we can build a community here. The first couple weeks I was here, when I moved to Sydney, you know, the first few weeks of term, I didn't talk to anyone else except the grocery, the checkout person at the grocery store. So I didn't know anyone. So it's that lack of community and that lack of engagement that is kind of fostered by the lack of classes and the lack of events tailored to Cradle Coast students.
Thank you, Angus. And although, of course, I'm an independent moderator, there is only one candidate here, so I can make some comments here without playing favouritism. And I just think, Angus, you've hit the nail on the head, because university is a lot more than just book learning and exams and a whole range of things. University is about where you find your tribe and your community and your people. And I'm sad to hear that that is the experience on the Cradle Coast campus. So thank you for offering your perspective there, Angus. Please give Angus a warm round of applause. And thank you for participating in the debate against yourself tonight. I think, Angus, very much appreciated.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Cheers.
Okay. Thank you, Angus.
The portal.
You can never have too many David Bartletts. I've already said that. Unfortunately, the voters of Tasmania didn't necessarily always agree.
Which one's that?
Well, never really did, actually. Northern Campus President is the only thing standing between us and some pizza. So we'll get the Northern Campus President three candidates up. I'm not sure if any of them are here tonight. Please join us, Hannah or Terence or Angia. Angia's not here. He wasn't here before. Is Hannah or Terence online or with us tonight? I'm looking around at my handlers.
Yes.
Hey. We got one. Do we have any others? Maya's checking. Thank you for joining us, Terence. Have I got your name pronounced correctly?
Yes, indeed.
Just trying to turn on my microphone. Hello.
Hannah?
Yes.
You can hear as well?
Yep.
Fabulous. Sorry? Excellent. All right. Welcome to you both. You both have 30 seconds each to introduce yourself. I'm going to start with Hannah. Introduce yourself. Tell us a bit about you. Tell us why you're running for this position and whether you're affiliated with a group or not.
Yes. Hi, everyone. I'm Hannah. I'm a PhD student in architecture, and I'm running as an independent. And I've only been here for about 4 months, but in that time, I've really come to appreciate both great parts of campus life and the things that could be improved. And I'm running for this position because living on the Newnham campus in a student accommodation myself, I've experienced firsthand the strengths and challenges that come with life here. And I'm passionate about ensuring that all students, whether at Newnham or Inverness, have a fulfilling and supportive experience.
Thank you, Hannah.
Yeah.
Terence.
Hey, good day to you all. My name is Terence Batak, and I'm eagerly running towards the Northern Campus's president role. We run under the Your Uni, Your TUSA ticket role. I moved up from Richmond, Tasmania, up to Launceston, and now at my 3rd year of architecture here at UTAS. I'm also a part of the accommodation committee here at student accommodation, and outside in the community, I broadcast in community radio in City Park Radio on 3.7 FM and 96.5. But yes, definitely I'm passionate with community and being able to be a catalyst towards that.
Thank you, Terence. Right, I've got 3 questions for each of you, and we'll alternate the starter and finisher on each of you. We'll start with you, Hannah, on the first question. Safety remains an ongoing issue at northern campuses. Give a view on the steps that should be taken by UTAS to improve security for students at Inverness and Newnham, and as such, what messaging would you push as the TUSA Northern President?
Should I go first?
Yes, Hannah. Sorry, Hannah, to you.
Yeah. I know that safety is a concern for a lot of students, and I know that because walking around campus late at the evening or at night can feel unsettling. And I think we need practical improvements like better lighting, more security patrols, CCTV coverage in key areas. But beyond that, I believe that safety is also about feeling connected to the campus and the people around you. And when students feel like they're part of the community, they're more likely to look out for one another. So as Northern Campus President, if elected, I push for those basic security measures, but also for building a sense of community so no one feels isolated or unsafe. And this could include improvement of safety apps that we're already using or peer support initiatives that makes it easier for students to look out for each other.
Thank you, Hannah. Terence.
Definitely, there should be a more proactive approach in terms of ensuring that security and safety is implemented, and especially for students and students alike. And I've appreciated that they've had the chance to do it, but there should be more, and there should be more ping pong between ensuring that that feedback is actually being enacted. And as your potential Northern Campus President, to be able to vouch for that, and especially in its relation to how in the local community. Another one is more transparency with what's happening across the campuses, especially with what's happening with the workshop or one of the campuses where UTAS has opted to make it more of an event space. We don't even know what's happening, or there could be more efficiency or effectivity in terms of letting the wider students know that there are such things that are happening. And especially in terms of security, as had a chance one late night that the door automatically opened, and so anyone can just come in that sort of way. And I certainly agree with the sentiment to have more of a welcoming, secure environment, and to be able to promulgate those values so that each and everyone feels safe and secure in their own skin. Thank you.
Thank you, Terence. And we'll stick with you to start the second question as well. During 2025, it is scheduled that the health students are moving from to the Inverness campus, from Newnham, further vacating the Newnham campus. How will you go about ensuring student experiences are not negatively affected during transition periods, and to ensure that students such as AMC, the Maritime College, left at Newnham into the future are not forgotten about?
So in this way, there's a lot of opportunities in terms of in this very tumultuous sort of transitionary period. There have been groups around, or for instance, in the workshop, that vouch for more of a pragmatic sort of pragmatic use of the building. And what I don't particularly agree with, how or it goes to show that for instance, there had been a letter that had been purveyed for everyone, that instead of the word petition, they had been changed towards suggestion. And so all of these power play or tactics that sort of to ensure that people who actually use the building gets to be heard in that regard. And as well as the other aspect of continuance of that sort of uni-hopper or shuttle service between both campuses can also help ensure that through this transition of students, both campuses are to be continues to be vibrant in that manner. And last but not the least, with my journalistic tendencies, be able to broadcast or ask or interview people in terms of and broadcast their stories. Or it's not just me, it's also the wider community that we ought to get from them what they would like to see in this coming years. Thank you.
Thanks, Terence. Hannah.
Yeah, I'm going to talk briefly about my own personal experience in that matter. When I arrived here at late June, the campus was really quiet and the isolation was tough. There were like no events or activities that I knew of. When the new semester started, I saw things come to life and the students arriving and the orientations were being held and everything. But I also noticed that some students still experience the same isolation that I felt. And with health students moving to Invest, we can't let Newnham become quieter and more isolated for the students left behind, like those at the AMC. I try to push for regular events and activities that engage the remaining students so we can keep a sense of community and connection. And it is important to keep facilities well maintained and ensure that Newnham remains a vibrant, active campus. And I also try to make sure that the university communicates clearly with the students during this transition so no one feels like they're being left behind or forgotten in the process.
Thank you, Hannah. Excellent. Final question to both of you. We'll start with you, Hannah, for this one. In recent years, TUSA has come under fire for some having reduced presence at our northern campuses, largely due to financial constraints. How would you like to see TUSA better serve the northern campuses in the future if and when those constraints are eased?
I think over time, I have seen more events and activities start up for new students, but there still are a lot of gaps in the engagement. If financial constraints do ease, I try to push for more staff on northern campuses and more regular events that can bring students together. And I think it's important to create spaces also where students can connect with one another. And I'd work to ensure that the specific needs of our campuses are recognized, whether that's more mental health resources or academic support, or simply just more chances for students to gather and connect. And I'd try to focus on building stronger support systems for clubs and societies, which are a great way to bring students together. And I've personally seen how student-led events can build a sense of belonging, and I believe that we need more of that.
Thank you, Hannah. Please join me in thanking Hannah and Terence. Thank you very much, Hannah and Terence. We're now going to break here for pizza, which should be arriving, all being good. We're going to eat the pizza. I'm told we're not allowed to bring the pizza back into this room. We're going to eat the pizza out there, but we'll be back here at 7:10 sharp to recommence. We're going to get back underway. Apologise, pizza hasn't quite arrived, but it will be there at the end. So rather than spend another 20 minutes out there waiting for pizza, we'll get underway. We'll get our debating finished, and then we'll be rewarded with pizza at the end. Now, I was just out there boasting that I, had met all my key performance indicators by being on time. But clearly I didn't, because I missed Terence on the very last question. We didn't go back to him for his answer. So my sincere apologies for that, Terence. And I think we're going to get him back up for that, to give him the opportunity to answer that final question. Thank you, Terence. My sincere apologies to you. I clearly haven't met my KPIs as the MC. I'm sacked and probably will never be invited back. But I'm going to read the question for you again, Terence, and we'll go from there. I think you've got a finger on your camera. In recent years, TUSA has come under fire for having a reduced presence in our northern campuses due to financial constraints. How would you like to see TUSA better serve northern campuses in the future if and when those constraints are eased?
So first, I would like to appreciate, or I've met the previous two incumbent presidents in the North, and they've done a really good job in terms of managing all of these things, especially with the context that we are facing, or TUSA is facing in terms of the issues in terms of funding and in its efficacy up here in the north. And so with this in mind, this gives us a whole heap of opportunities to able to optimize or have a relatively clean state and restart and define what TUSA can bring across the board. What's also one other resource that can be of useful is that through my involvement in the student accommodation committee, be able to further continue and be of advocate across all boards and aspects, and to also consider the wider community, Launceston and the surrounding areas, and as well as Tasmania and UTAS in that sense. And last but not the least, to run with a Your Uni, Your TUSA ticket in terms of having that network of like-minded students that seek or of which goal is to make the best out of these opportunities and of how TUSA can be of good platform, or even how I myself was just inspired as to how TUSA has really got its has a solid platform in terms of invoking change and getting the administration or the policymakers to sort of keep grounded in reality. But yes, thank you very much.
Thank you, Terence. See, you got that last answer, but we thank you for coming back in for that one. We're going to turn our attention now to the Southern Campus President, of which we have two candidates attending, I believe. I'm not sure of the three, Matt, Oscar and Ruby, who we have here with us. Ruby's here, welcome.
I think your microphone might be off. I can't hear you.
It is, because I was talking about pizza out there. Much appreciated. Welcome. We've got Matt and we've got Ruby. Welcome to you both. I'll invite, starting with Matt, 30. You're going really well. It's the lack of pizza that's throwing me off. Matt, to give us his 30 seconds of who he is and why he's running for this position.
Cool. Hi, I'm Matt Holbrook. I'm running a resistance ticket with a couple of other great students, running as the Southern Campus President. And I'm running because I feel like TUSA just has so much incredible potential to really help activate students and to help students be involved in a really, not just a representative democracy like what we're doing here, but a participatory democracy. And there's thousands of students, out there looking, as we've seen, as we've heard from people, wanting to be activated, wanting to be reached out to, and wanting to hold the university accountable when it comes to making sure that we've got all of those SAF fees coming towards us. Yeah. It's the students' money. It should be going towards the students' union. But not just that, to guarantee that, especially in Hobart, I know it's rough all around the state and the country at the moment, but in Hobart, the accommodation issue, and especially for students, is just outrageous. So holding the university to account on that, as well as their links to different military and private weapons manufacturers, when it comes to making sure that our university and our university experience absolutely has nothing to do with that warfare and the genocide currently happening in Palestine. So,
thank you, Matt. Ruby.
Okay, hi, I'm Ruby. I am studying marine and Antarctic science here in Hobart, but I'm originally from Western Australia. So the past 3 years I've spent as a student ambassador and as a resident in uni accommodation as well. And through that experience, I've had the opportunity in meeting and hearing the voices of a great many students. And it's that reason that I feel well prepared to be the voice for our Southern campus.
Great, please welcome Matt and Ruby. You've got the mic, Ruby, so we'll start with you on our first question for our Southern Campus President candidates. The university have driven a strategic shift to split up the Southern Campus across several locations throughout Hobart CBD and Sandy Bay. What is your stance on this shift, and what is your view on the next steps that should be taken by the university as a result of the reduced ability to engage students through this footprint?
Absolutely. So I think the primary concern that we have and the Your Uni, Your TUSA team has surrounding this changing campus structure is a lack of student knowledge, education and involvement around it. So I think there's positives of this change and there's also negatives, but as a whole, I don't think the student voice has been consulted enough, if at all, to inform this change. So I think the first step to improving this is going to be education. I don't think, as much as there may not be a structured plan in place yet, I think it's really important that students are brought into the planning process, and through that, students can consult, students can understand that, this is going to mean better facilities, better technology, but obviously there is going to be that engagement issue. And so I think addressing the engagement issue is going to mean engaging students from the very beginning of the process. And I think one of the huge issues in this area as well is the loss of our Sandy Bay campus, obviously with the UTAS move issue too, which is a big concern for our accommodation residents. We've spent so much time and effort in the past 3 years putting it into student accommodation at our colleges to get them up to scratch following COVID-19. And so to see that all go to waste would be a really big shame. But I think at the end of the day, all we need to know is we need to have a plan. We need to know what our future is going to look like as students.
Thanks, Ruby. Matt?
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what Ruby had to say. I think overall the development of the city campus has been, while there are some benefits to students and there's some very good facilities in the city now, I think it was overall a cynical ploy to basically move into the city so that they were able to sell the land that's here in Sandy Bay. It's worth quite a bit of money. And I think it's part of the university's shift to becoming more of like a real estate property development type, rather than just a university. And I think that from here on in, even though I think they should keep Sandy Bay campus, I think they should keep the city campus, and I think they should stop pretending that there's no money in order to sustain that model and to have two fantastic campuses with transport in between, with great facilities at both, and with not just students, but also staff looked after, so that we can fight together, all the students, all the staff, to make sure that we have everything that a quality university needs.
Give a round of applause for the president. Are you expecting that while you're on the roll? Because similar, and obviously in the south, this is a big question that's in lots of ways not just massively having an impact on students, staff, academic staff, and so on, but on a much wider community in Hobart. So in the south, we now have many micro campuses from Taroona to the Domain and Hunter Street, to name a few. Do you have any concern, or do you have concerns around this growing decentralised campus experience model, and how would you go about representing students across so many campuses?
Yeah, plenty of concerns. I'm sure that we all do, especially the students who are and the staff who are being shipped out to these very small micro campuses, really, in some cases, with no say in the decision-making process. I think we need to come together and support when, the law department here, took a strong stance and said that they wanted to say. And I think that we need to reach out to the staff, to the students at these micro campuses and say, what was the consultation like? And as to come, join TUSA, join the student union. And if you're a staff member, reach out to the NTEU, work together. And if it's possible, and they hate it and it's no good, come back to Sandy Bay campus or go into the city, or, just because they've gone in this direction doesn't mean that we are forced to now eat lumps. We can band together, we can reverse these things if that's what the students and the staff at these small campuses want. If they want to stay where they are, if they like the change, if it's just the right facility for them and they're getting a quality experience, then obviously as a student union, we need to get out there, we need to meet the students, we need to get them activated and start their own branches out there, their own student societies, the Taroona Student Society, you know, like, and I don't think having multiple small campuses needs to be a bad thing. I think the university needs to cough up more money that comes from the students and comes from the hardworking staff to make it a quality experience.
Thanks, Matt. Ruby.
Absolutely. I think that, yeah, our challenge with these smaller satellite campuses is that representation. It's really hard to represent the student body when the student body itself is separated. But as a student at IMAS, I've seen the absolute amazing benefits of having a super specialized facility, but also a central hub, which is at the moment Sandy Bay. This might change in the future, where you can come back, I think it's so important to be able to interact with people who are like-minded, who are studying different things from different places. Otherwise, we all get stuck in the same thought bubble. So I think looking into the future, that's going to be our really big goals is, you know, starting off the year not just located at Sandy Bay with our orientation week events. We need to spread them across the city, across into Taroona, all of it. And I think coming from Perth, Western Australia, I've seen a model of this which is really amazing and has worked so well, which is Notre Dame in Fremantle. Fremantle City was just decimated after COVID, and I think we've seen a little bit of that in Hobart with people starting to work from home a little bit more. So I think it's, in Fremantle itself, the University of Notre Dame is unparalleled across other universities in Western Australia for its student engagement, and yet it is a separated campus structure. So there's so much hope for us, and there's so many different ways that we can tackle this.
Great. Well, please join me in thanking Matt and Ruby for their contribution. I've got to say, as we pass the halfway mark of our session here tonight, just how impressed I am with the quality of the candidates you've got. You know, you're really fortunate that it's not quite Kamala versus Trump. We're actually agreeing on a lot of things, and this gives me a lot of hope for the future about this university, and particularly about the student body that has such an important role to play in the future of this university. And I'll say more about that at the end. But the quality of your contributions so far have just been magnificent. So thank you for that, for everyone. We'll move on to the equity president, of which we have one candidate attending, I believe. Our mate Mark is here. Welcome, Mark.
Renee's actually here.
Oh, Renee, sorry, my notes are wrong. Renee, welcome to you too. My sincere apologies. Please welcome both Mark and Renee. And because I missed you off, I'm going to hand you the mic first, Renee, and ask you to give us 30 seconds on. Well, I know the feeling. 30 seconds on you, Renee, and why you're here, and whether you have any affiliations and so on. It's on.
Hi, I'm Renee, and I've got autism and ADHD and OCD, fibromyalgia, bipolar disorder, and auditory processing disorder. I'm a sexual assault victim and survivor of domestic violence also. Survived and still here. I've been at UTAS for close on 10 years as a bachelor's, and I still haven't progressed further, but that's it. I've seen many changes here at the UTAS, both good and some questionable ones, and ran for state elections for this 2024 for Clark, and Sam Campbell is the elbow in my back driving me forward.
Are you a Resistance Associate candidate then?
Yes, I'm a Resistance candidate.
They used to be a lot louder than that in my day. Dude, we would have been burning down the Vice Chancellor's office by now.
Don't give us the
All right. G'day, everyone. My name is Mark Warrington. I'm the current serving equity president, TUSA equity president. bit about me. I'm currently studying a marine and Antarctic, Bachelor of Marine and Antarctic Science and majoring in governance. I'm a mature age student, of which roughly 35% of students enrolled at UTAS are aged over 35, so it's a little bit of perspective there. I have type 2 Usher syndrome, so I've got tunnel vision and 50% hearing loss. I'm a member of the queer community, lived experience. I've travelled widely, and both in Australia and internationally. I'm a member of the amazing Your Uni, Your TUSA ticket. And so, why am I seeking re-election in this fantastic role? I think that sometimes we get busy in our the machinations of UTAS, but it's really amazing that UTAS is an outlier as far as diversity and equity groups goes. We have a depth and a breadth of equity and diversity and disadvantage that far outlies some of our more cosier, cushioned university counterparts in the Australian university sector. So I'm really looking forward to seeking a second term with your vote to build on the work that I've been doing in improving the voice of marginalised and disadvantaged students through such things as the implementing the equity committee and furthering that sort of work.
Thank you, Mark. You hold on to the microphone and we'll go to questions for our equity president candidates. Are there any demographics that you feel are underrepresented by the TUSA, and how would you go about changing this?
Well, thank you for the question, and yes, all of them. Every one of us in here is underrepresented, and more work needs to be done. And if I had it's a bit like saying which one's my favourite cake. I like all of them, and, as far as equity groups goes. The last 12 months, and as I said before, in setting up the equity committee, we looked at right, where do we start? And we picked 7 arbitrarily. We had to start somewhere. 7 groups. I won't go through them because I will forget one. But I think in reflection moving forward, with the current structure that we've created, this to remain manageable and to make it sustainable for incoming equity presidents in years to come, I think probably 8 equity officers is about the optimum. And so I think when I think about it, the carer cohort is an area that we could do a lot more in that space. Now, why I say carer, you know that 80,000 Tasmanians identify as a carer. They're caring for disabled or elderly people. That's a massive amount of people. So that then drives change. Do we have spaces? Do we have flexibility in our learning? All those sorts of things. So to answer your question in a long way, that's my answer, is we need to do more with carers.
Thank you, Mark. Renee, I'll reread the question as well. Are there any demographics that you feel are underrepresented by the TUSA, and how would you go about changing this?
Well, I think that Mark was spot on with that one. I believe that just a lot of people have misinterpreted and underrepresented because all of us have some form of disability at some point in our lives. Disability to me is represented by the inability to be able to do what you need and how and when you need to do it. And I think that we've all been in that situation at some point in time. And I think that it just sort of, it's just everyone needs representation, and everyone deserves representation through mental health, well-being, care, support and love.
Yeah. Beautiful. One question for you both. How can TUSA continue to encourage, and we'll start with you, Renee, encourage engagement with First Nations students at UTAS?
Well, I haven't had a lot of dealings with First Nations, but I have been in contact with Riawana, and I support people of First Nation descent, and I think that they are somewhat underrepresented, and just building engagement of understanding and just representing them like we would any other person, and just in things like their art, their culture, and things that can be tactile, like art shows that you don't need certain senses to see, like, so you can go up and feel the art and immerse yourself in that.
Thanks, Renee.
Thank you. I think it's a missed opportunity, and I say we as the community of UTAS don't do enough proactively to embed ourselves and understand the Palo Alto experience of Litruita. And you're only going to get that in one place in the world, and that's here. So there's a lot of opportunity, and I think one of the driving factors is at a high institutional level, and I in recent times have asked TUSA to consider looking at developing a Indigenous Reconciliation Action Plan or something of that ilk to everyone has the best of intentions, but I think it's good to have something embedded in the machinations of TUSA. So going forward, from state council to state council, there is a clear understanding of how we go about coming together with Palo Alto First Nations people. Now, having that in place then means that we can go to UTAS and say, what are you doing with your reconciliation plan? How can you help us to get students involved in activities at Riawana and further afield? Now, from the TUSA perspective, we could probably be doing more, and I haven't spoken to anyone, but I apologise for this. But I think that there's an opportunity through our unique Tasmanian experience tours, I say TUSA's unique Tasmanian experience tours, to perhaps think about a Indigenous Palo Alto experience to give people the access, because I understand that it's not easy to just front up when you don't feel that you're part of the mob, but you want to be part of the conversation. So there you go. That's my answer. Is that at a high level, there needs to be some framework developed, but at the human level, there are options there too.
Please join me in thanking Mark and Renee. We're on the homeward stretch now, and we've got pizza in our bellies, so it could get really fiery for the last two sections here. Welcome back. Our next two candidates for the position of General Secretary. Now, let me just read this. The General Secretary role, new since I've been around, has been introduced into the State Council for 2025 and represents a splitting of the President's portfolio of the past few years to both provide better support of the State Council whilst also allowing the President more time to focus on working with external stakeholders and influencing policy and legislation, which can only be a good thing in my view. The role will include the support of the State Council, including oversight of policies, State Council budgets. They'll be placed as part of the TUSA Executive Management alongside the President, sit on Academic Senate and the TUSA Board of Management. So, please welcome Belle Smith and Lucian Beattie. I believe are both here with us today. Good on you. I'll give you. He's done the colour and gone straight for the handshake. That's good. We start with Lucian. Well done, and welcome to you both. Just 30-second introduction.
Hi, I'm Lucian Beattie. Just before I continue with my introduction, I'd like to do a mini acknowledgement of country. It's always been and always will be Aboriginal land. It was stolen, not ceded. And I'd like to acknowledge and congratulate all the candidates for their fantastic debates and campaigning so far. Well done, everyone. I really enjoyed it. I'm Lucian. I'm a first-year law student. I'm also one of the first-year representatives in the Law Society. Outside of uni, I am an advocate for climate change and environmental action, for prevention and assistance of child sexual abuse survivors, for mental health, and in general just improving education and empowering young people. And I'm running with the Alliance for Fair Representation ticket for the General Secretary position because I believe I am genuinely very passionate about improving and helping people's lives, and I think that I can use experience that I've gained throughout my life doing many different things to fairly represent the people and the students of UTAS and to increase the representation that we bring to TUSA for the students. Thank you.
Thank you, Lucian. Belle?
Thank you. Hi, my name's Belle Smith. I am a third-year Bachelor of Social Work student. Originally from rural New South Wales, I moved down to Tassie a couple of years now to study in our beautiful state. I am running for the position of General Secretary with the amazing Your Uni, Your TUSA team, who I could not be more proud of tonight to have heard all of them speak. I am running for the position of General Secretary, as I believe that I do have some amazing experience and some knowledge that I am really excited to hopefully impart onto the beautiful TUSA team. Having been an advocate for a lot of my life, being a part of the student accommodation systems at UTAS, and having experienced lots of different sort of walks of life from moving from rural New South Wales. I hope that I'm able to represent and to support from behind the beautiful team that will amazingly step through into being part of TUSA 2025. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll start with you, Bill. As General Secretary, your role is to manage the internal operations of the State Council, which includes supervising and mentoring other State Council members in their role. Describe how you would approach managing other presidents and what experience you would draw on to do this.
That's a really great question. And I think when we first started talking about the position of General Secretary, there's a lot of roles and jobs as a part of that position that lots of people would turn their noses up at. When we look at finances and doing all of that behind the scenes management of a team, but I think it's quite integral. Having a president be doing all of the work that the General Secretary will be hopefully and will be taking on only means that we have a better student representation, we have a better student voice. I am immensely passionate about ensuring that our students are the ones whose voices are being heard by the university, and that can only happen if our student body is leading effectively. And that work that can be done by the General Secretary only alleviates that pressure from the rest of the Student Council to be able to support the students better. In terms of experience that I am a social work student, so I like to think that I have the people skills to manage a team. It's taken a lot of work for me to be able to get to where I am. And wasn't always a confident public speaker, but my learnings in social work has gotten me here. I'm really passionate about active listening. I don't think you can achieve anything in this world without listening to the people around you effectively and enacting that change out of what they say. Compassion drives a lot of my kind of everyday life. And I want to be able to support the presidents out of a place of love and compassion.
And supporting them in mental health is really big for me as well. You can't have an effective student team that is kind of running on gas, basically. So yeah, that's
Thank
me.
you. Lucy. Good.
Yeah, well, in terms of managing the budget and the everything that comes with like the processes within the state council, I draw on my previous experiences from laws that I've done with other organizations. So, for example, I was the treasurer of the Hobart branch, Nickel in the Climate Fund for the National Group School Strike for Climate for a while, and I was very particular with money because I believe that it should be completely transparent and budgeted down to the cent, so that everything, every single cent goes stretches and goes where it needs to go, is used effectively, and that all funding that is received and that is used is transparently shared with the community. And in terms of helping presidents and helping manage their roles, I really believe that any sort of organization or group or team can't be successful without sharing the load. So whenever there is some sort of struggle that a certain president has in reaching a deadline or coming to a decision or managing some sort of project, just being able to step in there, help them with whatever they need to do, and get people to tag along and help out as well. I think that's really important, and it would create an effective TUSA.
Excellent, both of you. Thank you. Alan had nice work, Jim. You're up first for our second question. Within the current structure of State Council, there are obvious gaps and groups which are not fully represented, such as pre-degree students, online students, third-party campus students at the Melbourne campus, and more. As General Secretary, how will you work to ensure that those voices are still heard at the table and they're not left behind?
Yeah, well, absolutely. One of the things I'm most passionate about is democracy and having everyone, or as many people as possible's voice heard and having a seat at the table. And myself being last year a pre-degree student being in year 12, coming into university, was very confusing, and I acknowledge that there are so many gaps within the representation, especially in TUSA. Like for campaigning, I barely was involved in TUSA at all. So my focus as General Secretary would be to have a major push towards increasing representation amongst the student population of UTAS, both undergraduate and graduate and pre-degree, whether that take the form of new committees or some sort of online meetings like once a week or whatever. I would just like to really strongly push for an increase in the representation that TUSA has and the reach that we have, because like even only 5% of the student population votes in the election, I think that's just not enough at all. There really needs to be a massive increase.
Yeah, well said. I think I'm going to echo a little bit here of what you've just popped out, in that TUSA doesn't effectively represent the student body. I think that's kind of just period. You know, the amount of first year students who don't understand what TUSA is and what they can do for them is astonishing. Like you said, only 5% of students vote in the elections, and you know, if we can see a little bit of a rise this year, I think that would be amazing. There are so many demographics of students who, you know, we don't talk about. Like, I'm a really passionate advocate for our interstate rural regional students, having been one of those myself. You know, those students are the ones that we should be valuing, those who come from different places, from different walks of life, our pre-degree students. I've worked as a part of the interstate future students team at UTAS for a while now, and trying to enact change from the top of that has been really difficult. But we need to be spending that time and that effort to ensure that students know who we are, who TUSA is, what they can do for us and for the other students. Is going to make a real big change in that. So I hope that I can be a part of ensuring that the rest of the teams and the rest of the presidents can, support our students.
Great, both of you. I think we'll go to you first, Bill. At the University of Tasmania, 55% of our 28,000 student cohort studies online. Do you think TUSA works effectively in the online space? And how would you like to see TUSA improve their service offering in the future?
No. So many of our students are online, whether that be completely online or some kind of hybrid model that we've seen some of our other candidates talk about. Our online students aren't just based in Tasmania. Our online students are based all over the country, some all over the world. They are from all different walks of life and they represent different age groups. Like with our equity, they represent carers, they represent people with disabilities. We don't effectively represent those people and we don't support them either. I would really love to see the better implementation of the clubs and societies model to come into our online student space. I think we're really missing the mark there on ensuring that those students feel like they're a part of the UTAS community. One that, you know, all of us here today are, you know, somewhat proud to be a part of in some aspect. We're all here, we're all listening, we're being a part of, you know, making a decision for ourselves and for the future of TUSA. But our online students need to have that same experience and that same sort of say in what, you know, happens for them. Yeah, it's a pretty passionate space of mine as well. So I'll hand off. Thank you.
I'd say no as well. I mean, the support from UTAS itself is already pretty abysmal for online students. I find even being like myself a hybrid student online and on campus, I find the online side of it is quite difficult, and I can't imagine how hard it must be for people that are fully online. So yeah, there really is a lack of TUSA outreach and support and engagement with online students, and I'd really like to see that increase. And as Bill said, through clubs and societies as well, I think it would be great to have some online clubs and societies that can really connect and engage with each other and build a community. And yeah, as General Secretary, if elected, I would really push for more TUSA presence with online students.
Please thank both panelists. Two fabulously quality candidates you've got to choose from. We're coming to the really pointy end now, and we've just got the President to go. Jack Oates Pryor, here he is. Welcome, Jack.
Thanks so much.
Going to give you the microphone. Give it your 30 seconds to start with, Jack.
30 seconds to start.
I don't think anyone's stuck with 30 seconds, by the way. So.
G'day, guys, gals, and non-binary pals. To everyone in the room and online, hello, welcome. Great to be here with you all. My name's Jack Oates Pryor. I'm a third-year arts and laws student here at UTAS. It's been a privilege to start study up in Launceston, to have experienced this mixed modal learning, and then to come down to Sandy Bay and to the city, to be straddling all of these satellite campuses. Well, I certainly haven't been studying at all of them myself, but as Southern Campus's president this year, and as deputy president to Liam McLaren, the retiring state president, it's been a privilege to serve as a student advocate and representative. And so really excited to be running again this year with a really outstanding group of individuals as the team for your uni, your TUSA.
Great. Couple of hard-hitting questions for you before we wrap up.
Quickly.
Okay.
Yeah.
As the President is the external face and representative of the organisation, do you believe TUSA should be apolitical and or non-partisan?
Absolutely non-partisan. Yes, I completely agree. I think that politics will come into organisational structures, particularly in these roles of advocacy, regardless, and I think that can be okay. But I don't think that partisan politics should ever come into student unionism. I think that they can get in the way of effective advocacy, and they can also get in the way of connecting with these politicians who, as the president, I would need to be doing. And so I certainly think that my role is not to represent my own political beliefs, rather to represent the needs of the students.
TUSA recently re-affiliated with the National Union of Students in 2023. Do you believe this has been of value, and do you see value in this in the future?
Absolutely, I do. I think that the NUS does some amazing work in lots of different areas. If we see the Universities Accord, as we're going to touch on in just a moment, that's one example of advocacy from the National Union of Students. We also see a variety of different campaigns run from particularly under the End Student Poverty banner by the National Union of Students. Without this national peak representative body, it's very hard to get things done on a national stage, as you would know more than anyone, David. It's really important to have these interstate and national connections as well. And so I certainly think that, and someone running as an NUS delegate as well as 5 other awesome Your Uni or TUSA candidates, think that these connections to other student leaders across the country are really valuable and important, and help us to be more effective representatives here in Tasmania for you.
The Australian University Accords has been the largest review of higher education in 15 years for students. What do you see as the biggest wins and losses to come from it? Within your term, how will you go about responding and driving things forward given that context?
It's a great question, and we're continuing to see the impact of the Universities Accord. We just recently saw the Universities Accord bill tabled in Parliament, and are continuing to see the impacts of this bill and how it affects students. We've heard tonight, for instance, about pay placements. They're one key strong win from the Accords, and as we've heard, there's lots of work yet to go, and that's a key part of advocacy for me in working as an external advocate and representative of UTAS students, as well as a connector with the National Union of Students.
Great. And lastly, for you, drafted legislation has been released on legislating a minimum 40% SAF funding for student-led organisations, including definitions on what constitutes a student-led organisation. Do you think TUSA meets this criterion in its current state? And if not, what do you see as needing to change?
It's a great and complex question, and certainly not one that I can answer in about a minute, but I'll give it a shot. Some of this new legislation invites or will require student-led organisations to have a minimum of 50% of their governing body be democratically elected students or students from the past 3 years. Currently, the TUSA board doesn't meet this requirement, and neither do our voting members of the AGM. And so, yes, this will require structural change, and that's healthy and that's good. And this structural move moves towards a future where UTAS students can have a greater say in, as we've heard tonight, about where their SAF money is going, and so it's as well as the direction of student association and union, which needs to serve students at the end of the day. And so while there certainly will be change, I think that this can be a great thing, and I'm really keen if I am to be elected next year, not that there's much competition, but there's still the no confidence vote. So I would love to be...
I've survived 1 or 2 of those.
Glad to get excited. Let's hope the same. Would love to be working in partnership with TUSA as an organisation to look at how we can most effectively represent, support and fight for students into the future.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, please thank Jack. Oh, we've got time for one question from the floor. As long as it's not a Dorothy Dixer for anyone with these badges.
That's true.
All right, we'll leave it there. But really, thanks, Jack. And can I just say, I'm really pleased to hear your answers. I'm really pleased to hear some of that legislation brings with it massive opportunities for TUSA. And I'm sure whoever's elected tonight or over the coming weeks will be able to focus on that under your leadership, and it'll be a terrific thing. So please thank Jack Oates-Pryor. Right, in wrapping up, I am going to tell you a little bit about the National Union of Students. The National Union of Students is the peak representative body for undergraduate students in Australia. Founded in 1987, the NUS advocates at the national and state level on behalf of students on a range of issues, including education policy, student welfare and social security, health and welfare. The NUS National Conference, held annually, is the union's key decision-making forum. Student delegates elected from each state across Australia gather to debate policy, set the union's strategic priorities for the coming year and elect the national office bearers. The conference is an opportunity for students to shape the NUS's direction and campaigns. TUSA is a member organisation of the NUS, we've just heard about, currently holds 6 delegate seats at the conference, determined by the number of students the member organisation is representing. You can read more about each of our NUS delegate candidates on the TUSA Elections Candidate webpage. Do we have a slide for those people? I thought I'd seen a slide earlier. There they are, look at them all. Fabulous. You'll be able to elect 6 from this fabulous group, many of whom we've heard from tonight. And I'd just like to congratulate all of them for putting their hands up. Voting opens 9 a.m. on Monday the 23rd and will close on Thursday the 26th of September at 11:59 p.m. During the polling, TUSA are running a number of election information stalls across the state. Have a look on the TUSA website to see which is closest to you. In the spirit of elections, we'll have democracy sausages. Beautiful. Free food is always going to get the voters in. And donuts available. And you can have a chat with us about the elections or any questions you might have to ask of TUSA people. Results will be announced at the TUSA Results Night, which is always a great night, on Friday, the 27th, that must be, from 5 to 8 p.m. Light foods, free drinks available. So if you're interested, please make sure you secure a ticket on QPay. Before I say thanks for coming tonight and thanks to TUSA and wishing all the candidates well, I just did want to take a moment of your time to say a couple of things personally myself. I am, after tonight, seeing you all speak and hearing from all the candidates, and often, as I am with this generation, much younger than me, so many of you, deeply optimistic about the future. I see this generation and so many of you in the room as being so inclusive and blind to gender and race and religion and all of those things that my generation wasn't. And I'm really optimistic about it. It gives me really great hope about the future. But in many ways, I'm also pessimistic. I'm pessimistic about the sector generally in Australia, the university sector, the tertiary sector. I think politicians like me have, can I use this word? Fucked it up. And devalued it and not understood how important this sector is to Australia. Possibly even worse than that is here in Tasmania, the 2 most important organisations in this state are the state government because of what it does and how it should behave, and the University of Tasmania. I've been deeply passionate about this university since I was an undergraduate student here in 1986. Yes. I always have to check myself though, graduated in 89. There was one terminating pass along the way that I had to finish. But I always have to check myself, am I just being that old, pale, stale male bloke who's nostalgic about the past and what university used to be, and that it's not like that at all? So it was a great pleasure to work with TUSA for 2 and a bit years as chair of the Board of Management, where I educated myself from brilliant young people, number of you in the room, and particularly Liam, I want to point you out, because it really educated me about what the future of universities and mean to this generation and future generations. I just want to say I just want to encourage you all so much to raise your voices loud about what it is you need and what it is this sector needs for the future. Because unfortunately, we're heading in all of the wrong directions, in my view. And I don't want to get too political about this specific university, but I'm depressed as hell when I hear stories from students all over the place, and I ask them all the time when they walk into my business at Swisher. I say, how's the University of Tasmania going? Haven't met one person. I was depressed to hear from Angus today that for 3 months he talked to the shopkeeper down the road more than he talked to any student on campus. Student life should be not just about getting a degree. It should be about finding your tribe, working out whether you're resistance or you're the other mob or you're whatever you are, it doesn't matter, and who you belong to and who your people are and who you are as a human being. That's what an undergraduate degree should be about. And for our state, it's so vital. People are coming from New South Wales, Western Australia, wherever around the world. I'm deeply depressed about what the federal government's just done in terms of overseas student numbers as well. That may benefit University of Tasmania financially, but I don't believe it benefits our nation. So I just want to encourage you, those of you who aren't elected after this election, to keep going, and those of you who are elected, is to be loud and influential. And as I've said to Liam on a number of occasions over the last 2 years where I've got in his ear, is you can't be influential without really thinking about it and building a plan to be influential. And that's what I encourage you to do when you're elected in these elections coming up. Work out what are the 3 things you want to achieve in your time here, and then have a plan to be influential with the people who can change those things for you and for this university. I was in Perth a few weeks ago, WA, and I just saw graffitied on a wall there.
It wasn't us.
No, it had a resistance sign on it. It said Greek proverb, so forgive me the gendered language, right? But it said old men, I'll use old people, a society grows great when old people plant trees in whose shade they shall never sit. And that's what you've got to do, because you're going to be gone from this university in a year or 2 or 3 or 4 or whenever it is. But actually what you do over the next 1 and 2 years and 3 years that you can be influential will be great for those who follow on. And either the university sector and this university is going to continue its decline, or you're going to turn it in another direction and have real influence. And I just encourage you all to bring all of the energy I saw tonight, and the brilliance and the charm and the personality and the insights and the intelligence that, man, when I was in my 20s, I didn't have any of. Probably don't now either, really, but, you know, that you bring all that to make really positive change, because that's the most important thing you can do. And also, what you give, it will come back to you in spades. So I thank you, Lynn, for your service, and all the others who are on the way out. We're all transfer roosters now, pepper dusters, right? But then I also, more importantly, congratulate everyone who's standing for election, and just say that this is a fantastic thing you're doing to put yourself out like that. It's not easy, it's never easy, and there will be critics. But as Theodore Roosevelt said, it's not the critic who counts, it's the, again, gendered language, person in the arena that generally counts. And you're all in the arena. So get on with it. Go for it.